Hi there, welcome to the Gardens and Graveyards channel. Today we are planting a ancient, native, and slightly dangerous plant. It's called Snakeroot, and we're here down in the poison garden, and this will be our very first plant purchased specifically for this garden and planted in here. We've done some rearranging, we've done some transplanting, we've removed plants and put plants back in, but this time we're introducing a brand new specimen into our garden that I've never grown, and I'm really kind of excited about it. So this plant is native to North America, and it was part of a huge issue in the early 19th century when farmers started like the big push in agriculture. And what was happening is snakeroot was natively growing just naturally in the fields, and their cows and their goats and their sheep were eating it. And there was some indication that the animals were having some intestinal trouble, but what really affected our ecosystem was when the families drank the milk from that livestock. They got very, very sick, and it was called the milk sickness. And it actually killed many, many people at that time until they figured out what it was that was causing this problem. We don't have cows, so we don't drink milk from our cows. I'm not really worried about this plant being in my garden. We will take precautions and not let toddlers or, puppies eat the leaves, just in case, but it's not fatally toxic just to be in the garden. This particular one is called white pearl snakeroot, and it is a Monrovia plant. It gets about 4 foot tall by 2 foot wide, and it is most productive in zones 4 through 9. It likes to live in part shade to full shade, which is perfect for this garden because it's mostly in shade, and it can handle some moist roots, which is also good because the water table in this area is pretty high. The second plant that we're going to plant today is Spiderwort because I'm not quite ready to leave spooky season, so I'm planting snakes and spiders in my garden. So the Spiderwort is actually a really fun specimen. It has chartreuse leaves, and it's even more yellow right now because it's fall and the leaves are, saying goodnight. But it typically has chartreuse leaves with this very vibrant blue flower, which is so fun. And it flowers more with a little more sun, so it likes to live in part shade to sun. So we're putting it in the sunniest slice of the garden that we have right at the beginning of the entryway here. So we are currently underneath the waxing moon, and it is fall, and it's all about embracing this season, going into more of a quiet moment in the garden and in our lives. So we're pretty much just taking it slow. We're only planting 2 plants today. We are actually removing a yellow twig dogwood that we're going to put in a different part of the garden that's not quite developed. So we're just going to put the dogwood into the can that the snakeroot's coming out of, and we're going to be removing some crocosmia that's not flowering in this garden, so we don't need to take up that real estate, and the snakeroot will be happy without competing for space. So while I'm planting the spiderwort, Spencer's going to be in the background removing the yellow twig dogwood, which is not poisonous, and the crocosmia. So let's get to it. since spiderwort can be mildly irritant to the skin, and we're working in the poison garden, I'm making it a habit to use gloves in this space. We have our spiderwort planted. We prepped the area for our snakeroot, but then I realized that the plant that it's sitting in front of has a very similar leaf and it'll just get lost. So we're gonna remove an astilbe that also needed to be moved out of this garden because it is not poisonous. And it's actually white blooming, so it'll be beautiful in the moon garden. So we're gonna move that up to the moon garden, and we're gonna put the snakeroot where the astilbe lives now. So let me turn the camera around and I'll show you what's going on. So here is where I was thinking about putting the snakeroot, and this is a 9 bark that really loves this space. It has gotten huge in the last couple of years, and it's just like wild and fun, and it's just like super happy in this space. So we try to leave it. We do have to cut off arms sometimes that come into the pathway, but mostly we just try to let it be as wild as it wants to be. But you can see, even though this is deciduous, during the summertime, this leaf and this leaf, they look so similar that I don't think that it's a good relationship. And this, when it's not in its fall foliage color, is that same like medium green. So we're actually going to move it over here to where this astilbe is, and this is the fall green, or the fall color for this astilbe, but it has the same similar kind of leaf structure, but it is far enough away from the 9 bark that it won't just blend in. And got catkins from the tree up there. Like, this plant doesn't get these. But you can see that this leaf texture is a good contrast to like the hydrangea that's next to it and the gunnera that's over here, and normally what's a hosta right there. So I think that the snake root will do good there. Does anybody else have this problem? You get in the garden, you think you know what you're gonna do, and something happens and you have to pivot. And I think that gardening is like the ultimate teacher, because you just have to roll with the punches. You have to listen to what the garden needs, and you don't always get to do what you want to do. And you know, it's a good lesson, because I don't always get to do what I want to do either.
Yeah, hot for that. Yeah.
Take it up to the moon garden. Plant it today. Well, that was super easy. The ground over here is so moist, and there's so many moles that it's like very aerated, very fluffy soil, and it's just super easy to dig in. So he just got all that done pretty quickly. This is the snake root, and I do need to cut it down because it is an herbaceous perennial, and it's time to cut it down. You can see that the foliage has faded, and you know, there's still a few blooms here and there, but mostly this is the nicest one. Isn't that beautiful? There's a folklore that says that birthing women would lay a blossom on their thigh to combat the pain of childbearing. I don't know how much I believe that, but that's the folklore. And there's also folklore about it being a remedy to snake bite, which is why it's called snake root, but it has not been recently proven to be true, so I won't be using it on snake bites. It's dead serious about healing you. It's deadly serious about healing. I don't know what how much of the lore is true, but it was proven to be the milk sickness issue with the cattle, so we won't feed it to the cows that we don't have. But I am going to cut it down, and then it'll come back in the spring, and it's going to live here with this gunnera, which is also deciduous, and this hydrangea, which is semi-evergreen or semi-deciduous for us. If it doesn't lose all of its its leaves, we'll come in and strip it in the winter time. But you can see the flowers are done blooming. You don't want to cut this particular hydrangea back. This is a mountain hydrangea, and you want to plant these where they could just be as big as they want to be. Although this is a proven winner's tough stuff that's only supposed to be 3x3. Currently, it's pushing 4x5. So anyhow, just talking through this, I'm realizing that I need some evergreens over here because these all, but that's okay. I actually have a plan to plant some yews in this space as a backdrop. So hopefully that'll work out. And then just down the garden bed here, we planted the Snakeroot, Spiderwort. Oh my gosh, all the names. Right there. Are you okay? Yeah. It's so beautiful and chartreusey right there. It pops in color. I like it. So let's take a little bit closer of a look at her flower, which, you know, it's also at the end of the season, but you could see what a bright blue flower this plant is. And when it's blooming with these bright yellow leaves, such a gorgeous contrast. And it is planted, it is also deciduous, so it'll die back and come back in the spring and it'll be stronger than ever. It is next to a berry poppins, which has lost all of its leaves. And this is the first year in the ground, so it is moist, even though it looks dry. That's just from all the perlite. It's plenty moist. And it'll be the companion to berry poppins, who's over here, and that will allow this shrub to get red berries next year because she hasn't had a companion, so she's not fruiting. Back to this space, we've got a bear's breeches right here, which is deciduous. Clearly the berry poppins is deciduous. The spiderwort is deciduous. We have a little tiny baby rhododendron, which will be evergreen, and this rhododendron, which will be evergreen. So both of these got transplanted from other parts of the garden that were really struggling this year, and we're hoping that they're happier in this space. And underplanted over here, we have woodruff as the ground cover, and we had two different kinds of ground cover in here before we started this space, so we removed all of the saxifraga from this area. We're just going to let the woodruff continue to cover this space. Of course, you will notice that it is fall and there are so many leaves to clean up, but we will get to that. We will get to that. Today was just about getting a couple of new plants in the ground. Spencer's removing some more crocosmia that also doesn't bloom in that area. So potential to just get rid of that grassy texture and put something that performs better there in the future. So we are planting under a waxing moon, which is beneficial to plants typically because the moon draws the water up to the surface of the soil, encouraging the stems to take up water. The school bus is driving by. But that's not necessarily happening in the fall just because our stems are going dormant. But I still try to come out here and plant underneath the waxing moon. And right now, I really just have to plant when I have a dry day because we are entering into rainy season. We just had like 5 days of pouring down rain. We have 2 or 3 days of rain in the forecast with 1 sunny day and then 10 days of rain after that. So we just have to come out here and take advantage of the dry weather whenever we can. And so during this time of year, I can't adhere to planting by the moon as strictly as I'd like to. So I try to just give the plants a little extra love and an extra little prayer just to say, please grow for me. And I'm so grateful that you're in my garden. And I'm so grateful that you came along with us today to plant in the poison garden. I hope that you're celebrating your life and you had a wonderful Samhain, Halloween, fall holiday weekend. And I hope that you're celebrating your life, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.